So now you have 100 things in your mind and you're standing there and you're going to try to make this perfect shot. And you're going to put everything together at once and it's going to turn out perfect. Probably not. You see, you need to limit your keys to a couple, 3 maybe, during the course of your approach. It's important to extract components, work on those components, groove them, smooth out all the rough edges. Well, I'm sitting here, I'm going to show you how to do the release drill. In this drill, I'm extracting only the release out of the complete approach. I'm going to have to put something underneath my right knee. This approach is pretty solid and it'll hurt you otherwise. You can use a towel, fold it up, anything to cushion. Right now, I've got me a little storm rosin bag I put down here. Works perfectly. Cushions the knee. Now, I want you to set up to where your left forearm is bracing yourself against your left knee. If you're left-handed, of course, flip this around. But I'm going to put my foot in exactly the spot I want to slide on. And I'm going to put my right knee directly behind my slide foot. Now, in this position, you can see I'm trying to make a perfect rectangle. I don't want to get the knee too close, and I certainly don't want the knee to slide out here, getting in the way of the swing. So I'm going to tuck it in right behind the leg. Now then, from this position with my hand in the ball, I can slide the ball back and forth, and it is going to give me that flat spot that you always hear on television that the pros create. It's automatic because the approach is flat. But as I pull this ball back, I want you to watch how my hand will load. If I keep my hand behind the ball, it loads. I don't want my hand on top of the ball. This is with a broken wrist. So let's maintain that position of the hand directly behind the ball. From here, just mimic the release. I'm going to go back 2 or 3 times, and then I'm going to accelerate that follow through like so. Now make sure you load up a couple of balls here. You're going to be making some trips back to that ball return. Let's say I want to learn the backup ball. Well, I can set my position, my hand position, and a backup release with my palm facing slightly to the right, like so. I can do the same thing. Now, I'm not going to load up quite as much this time in the back, which means my hand is not going to be directly behind. It's going to kind of go at a 45, because in this position, I'm not going to put much on it. The main thing is I want my palm facing to the right. And then there you go. That's a perfect backup ball. So from this spot, I can work on my spare release. I can work on my strike release. I can work on virtually any release. Come here, Joe. Throw me another ball. Let's say I want to really turn one over. So I'll get this thing and load my hand up again. And I'm going to come all the way around the side of this one as to get a lot of side turn. And if I need to move really deep inside, that's going to help me with that because I got a lot of rotation on there. Throw me another one there, Joe. All right, let's say I want to push one down the lane just to throw a straight ball. Well, I can get a little bit more on top of this thing. Again, I'm throwing nothing on this, so I don't have to load up much, and I'm just going to let go. That one's even on the holes. That's how straight it went. You see, from this position, I can recreate virtually any release that I want. I can practice only the release as to not confuse matters. So now that you know how to perform this release drill, let's take a closer look at how you can actually practice a lot of different releases from this point. Now, we've applied tape to this bowling ball as to make a plus sign when my hand is directly behind the ball. But as I swing it back, you can see how that tape changes. It's now looking like an X. Same thing when I roll the ball forward, that tape changes. Again, it's like an X. Now, the more I load or cup the ball in the backswing, the longer that plus is maintained. But if I swing the ball back in a normal manner, it's an X again. In fact, most of the times, I don't cup the ball. I'm not a real big player. We bowl a lot of games on the PBA Tour. It's a difficult task for me to cup the ball for an entire week. So most often, I don't utilize a cup at all. I don't even utilize a release all the time. A lot of times you hear the commentators on the PBA Tour talk about how a player has a really soft hand, a really smooth release. Well, there's a difference between a hard hand and a soft hand, and I'm going to show you that now. Look at your release after the ball comes off your hand. If your cup and your wrist is in this motion, then that's a hard hand. There's not much of a release here at all. Most of it is a hit to the ball. Players that really do this very well, Brian Voss, Parker Bone, watch their release. As soon as that ball comes off their hand, Parker Bone, that left hand is cupped like this. Brian Voss, exactly the opposite. It's the players that have a release at the end that are called soft hand. And a really smooth release, they say. Mark Williams, Del Ballard, to name a couple. And if you look at their hands right after they release it, it's kind of like a broken wrist. This is the release. This is how you get that soft hand. You're not muscling through the center of that ball as to create a violent revolution. Now, the harder your hand is, the more violent your reaction is going to be on the lane. The dry boards are going to appear drier. You're going to get more hook, a much more violent reaction. Same with the oil. You're going to get more skid with a hard hand. Actually, sometimes you'll get what we call a squirt, where the ball will actually look like its feet come out from under it, and it slides off to the right. We've now placed this tape in front of the ball so that we can show you another way to load. We talked about the loading or cupping of the ball behind you, but there's another way. You can move your hand to the inside part of the ball, my left. That's going to swing this tape out to the right. This is another way to load because as I turn this ball to the 10-4 position, I've added momentum. And although I can get a pretty good hook maintaining 10-4 all the way throughout the swing and accelerating through to get some revolutions, I take it to a whole new level when I load up prior to. And by adding this type of load, you take advantage of momentum through your release point. And that's how you throw the big hook. So if you want to perfect a lot of different releases, time to get on your knees, come to the foul line. It's the best way I know how.